So welcome back to day 2 of the lightning talks. It looks like we have 8 on the schedule today, plus some number of advertisers. First advertiser's already up here. Remember, if you would like to advertise while stuff is switching, come up, take a seat so you'll be ready to go. If we have technical difficulties, which of course we will never have, we have no history of that sort of thing, we can do 2 ads inside a block and try to fill the time while we be helpful. Remember, at 1 ding, that means it's your 1-minute warning. That does not mean you have to pack up and get out. You can wait for the gong. And other than that, I think we're all set, so go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I'm Inkeri Hakulinen from National Library of Finland, and something that's been bugging me for all these years with Koha is some problems with the language options. I don't have answers, but I have many questions for you. So I hope that some of you developers will take this and do something about this. So I'm sorry, I'm not speaking Finnish to you, but I have Finnish screenshots. You're welcome. The situation now in Koha is that you can install any language you want, or many languages to Koha, and it's easy to switch between them. It's really easy, it's really nice, thank you. At our library, we have 3 languages installed: Finnish, English, and Swedish. Thank you to our Western neighbors for that. However, your language options are limited. You can only send your patrons messages with those languages you have installed. So in our case, we have 3 possibilities. If we would like to have some other languages, we need the whole translation for Koha user interface. Okay, I know that there are really many languages to Koha out there, but anyway, it's quite a hard task if you just want to send a couple of letters to your patrons in their language. And of course, you have to keep the translation updated. And also for languages that you don't yet have, it's quite a huge task in addition to learning Koha, installing Koha, manage servers, and so on. So, could it please be possible to have more language options for the notices than just the ones you have in the user interface? It would be nice to have even some letters in more languages. For example, the welcome letter. And it would be nice if the librarians themselves could do it if they see the need. They didn't need to contact the developers or anyone who's keeping the Koha on the servers for them. So there are many possible use cases. For example, the minority languages. For example, the 3 Sami languages spoken in Finland. Also, refugees arriving into your library. It would be nice to be sending some letters to them in their own language. And I'm sure that you all can invent some other use cases for this. However, there would be some possible problems to consider. I'm sure that more than what I came up with, but anyway. So if you only translate some of the notices, but not all, what happens when Koha wants to send some letter that you haven't translated? Okay, there's the default language, you can use that, but how will you know what language to choose? For example, if we have welcome letter in Ukrainian, but we don't have any other letters in Ukrainian, will we send a Finnish letter instead, or English letter, or maybe Swedish? So it should be like that you can choose 2 languages at least for the patron for cases like this. Yeah. Thank you.
You should open a bug report about it. I forgot the most important thing during my talk this morning. If you are willing to help the documentation team for the screenshot, you should reach either me or Aude or over there, or Caroline over there, or someone else from the documentation team. Thanks.
One more thing to say. This is good. Inkeri presented the best super librarian and professional librarian every Koha development team should have. I think you are Koha developers very excited how this properly business requirement made for Koha developers with languages, how we should, what we should get and how it is now. So thank you, Inkeri, especially. And that's why we have so efficiently moving with Koha. We have very well support from very professional users librarians who gives us very proper bug reports and support and requirements for us Koha developers. Thank you, Inkeri.
My name is Paul Derscheid, and I come from LMS Cloud, a German library support vendor. I just wanted to quickly present our solution for event management in Koha, and just a quick shout out for ourselves, basically, so that you know about it and maybe use it and maybe give us bug reports or even development. Basically, it adds in the OPAC, it adds a UI for displaying events, and you can there's like a database schema, and you can populate it with your data. And this is what the details view looks like. And if you want to add a new event, you can just go into the plugin configuration section, basically, and then there's a modal, and you can choose from templates that you can create yourself, and then the values will get pre-populated with whatever you configured for that template, basically. And you can configure which target groups you are targeting with that event and can set prices for them or fees or whatever you want to call it. And then you just have to set the event times. This is always the most boring and stupid part. And then select the status, and then you can create a new event. And this view actually updates. This is the new event. And you can also very easily delete them after you, or you can check whether they appear in the front end first. And there's a, yeah, these are images from Lorem Pixum. Sometimes they fail, but basically this is it. And you can enter your target groups. You know, it's the same thing everywhere. Locations, event types, which are these templates. And there are some settings for filtering options, and you can also filter events with the search. There you have it. And it all updates because it's a JavaScript front-end framework by Google. It's not Angular, it's lit. And you can also filter by these checkboxes and get whatever you want. Yeah. Or reset everything. And what we haven't implemented yet is that you can actually book the events. This will take part later this year, hopefully. But if you are interested in using this yourself, you can always contact us. Or just get the release from the release section at our GitHub. And I would be very happy if anyone would try it or use it and give us some helpful feedback on what we can improve. Yeah, and that's basically it.
Hola. I wanted to take a minute to thank the organizers and Andre for this great conference on behalf of the Koha community and the release team. And also thank the Perl community to give us a chance to meet them. We learned a lot these days. I hope we can keep in touch in the upcoming month. And thank you all. That's it.
All right, we get one more announcement from me. Hello, my name is Salve Nielsen. I have been involved in the Oslo Pearl Mongers for 22 years. I want to tell you that there is something called Pearl Mongers. That's a grassroots community event, kind of local meetups where we go out for beer and or talk about technical stuff. And technical stuff could include anything that is interesting. And how about the library community? Reach out to the local Pearl Mongers group to see if they want to do something together. This is a fantastic thing to do. The way to do that is you go to a website called pm.org. pm.org. There's a map there. You'll find lots of Pearl Monger groups. A lot of them will be dormant. So you might have to prod them a little bit to see if they can awake from the zombie state. But with a little bit of effort and tender, loving care, I think it's possible to make something happen. Good luck with that.
Hi, I'm here to show off a little project I've been working on in my spare time lately. It's exploring museums at random with a bot. So basically, it's a Perl application that randomly posts entries from museum catalogues to a Mastodon account. And that's where you can find it if you want to have a look. There's links again at the end, so you don't have to copy it right now. So at the moment, it works with the Rijksmuseum, the National Library of the Netherlands, Te Papa Tongariro, the National Library of New Zealand, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it used to work with the Powerhouse Museum from Australia, but 2 weeks ago they seemed to just turn their API completely off, which was not ideal. And why? Well, museums have pretty huge catalogues. Most of it's not shown, like if you go visit. And so this lets you kind of see all sorts of weird, obscure, random things. Te Papa has a lot of plant samples. The Rijksmuseum has lots of drawings. So here's a few interesting things that it's come out with. This was a photo from 1931, Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, after a major earthquake. This is from Horowhenua, near where Koha was started. Just a nice picture of a lake from, what's the 60s or so. Some cool little toys from long ago. Fashion magazines from the 1800s France. Famous paintings, although I cheated with that one because I front-loaded it because there was a Vermeer exhibition going on in the Netherlands. So some little ticky bits to it. The source, it's open source. You can go poke around. It's Perl, it's Mu, DBX class, and Mastodon client. It's all fairly straightforward. How it works is once a month, it downloads the entire catalog from the museums, chucks it into a database, and sometimes this is fast, sometimes it's slow. Every museum, like every library, is a unique snowflake in some way, and some of them have a really straightforward, simple API. Some of them have a weird, complicated API. Some require you can get updates. Some you just slurp the whole lot and see what's changed. Chucks it all into a local database, and then every 4 hours, pulls something at random from that database, fetches the data from the museum itself, pulls images, makes text, and chucks it on Mastodon. The random thing is interesting, because databases aren't good at doing random. It's very hard to say, I want a random entry from this giant table of 1.5 million rows. So I actually have a neat trick with that a friend of mine helped me come up with, where you have a column that's a floating point number at random, and you have an index on it, and you order by that. And I just quite like it, because it was a very obvious once you've seen it, but really hard to come up with a way of solving this problem. and it re-randomizes everything. Otherwise, you bias in favor of new stuff as you add new things in. As I said, every museum has its own special API. Sometimes it's Dublin Core, sometimes it's Elasticsearch wrapper, sometimes it's just plain JSON in some weird way. It's kind of fun, actually. Some museums claim they have an open API and don't. There's one in the UK that Science Museum Group that only lets you page 100 pages back in JSON because it seems to be like a JSON version of the website, and that only gets you like a fraction of their records, which is kind of annoying. So to solve some of these problems, I've made some Perl modules. They're all in CPAN, and they provide a easier to use interface, not standard interface because that's kind of tricky, but just an easier to use interface to the museum APIs. Currently there's 1.5 million almost records in my database, of which 1,100-ish have, 1,100,000-ish, 1,100,000-ish, third time's the charm, are eligible for publishing, means they have images and such. And so far there's been about 717, give or take one or two, because of time. Now, you can help too if you want. The easy way, tell me about a museum that has an open API. The mediumly difficult way is write up a module and tell me about it. The hard way, you've got that cool museum you like that doesn't have an API, talk to them and make them make one, then write up a module for it, add support for it, and just send me a merge request. Or any of those bits. Any of those bits are fine. And here's those links again if you're interested. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to try an audience participation advert now. Who here thinks accessibility is important in software? Hands up. Great. Who here is a developer? Great. Who here is a librarian? And who here likes to give money to good causes? Fantastic. Well, the last thing isn't vital, but if you stuck your hand up for any of the other things, then you need to come to our accessibility workshop tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So if you're still around and you stuck your hand up, we'll see you there.
Hi, my name is Pasi Kallinen, also known online as Paxed, and today's topic is nagging your catalogers. So what's MARC? MARC is machine-readable cataloging. Well, it was developed in late 60s, so machine-readable nowadays is a bit debatable. It's maintained by Library of Congress, and today it's known as MARC 21. It gets maybe 3-4 updates per year. MARC XML is MARC wrapped in XML very badly, and then there's a CPAN module that handles all that. What's cataloging? It's static info about the stuff that library has. So a book has a title, a publisher, whatever. And Koha, that stores the catalog information in MARC XML. And here's an example of an XML record. It's of a book called A Bag of Moonshine by Alan Garner. As you can see, it's really good. So, libraries. If your library uses a closed source software, it's almost impossible to get the data out of it. And they don't really know how bad their data is. So, catalogers say that, yes, our data is good. It's good enough if they can find it. So, catalogers, even though they have superhuman abilities when it comes to cataloging, they are humans and do mistakes, just as we all do. So errors slowly creep in, or possibly they get their records from the catalog provider, and you never know if their data is correct. So, Library of Congress does not provide a machine-readable version of the format description. They only provide a short version of the XML schema, so you can validate that the XML is valid, but nothing else. National Library of Finland has a translation of the MARC 21 format in XML format, so you can get it out of that URL. And stuff we can get out of that translation is mark field valid, what subfields are valid, what indicators are valid, if a field can be repeated or not. For some random fields, we can even get if the field data is valid. So that's interesting. Maybe we could do something about that. Maybe we can go through the database, check for errors, or maybe we can even tell the user that the record has errors when they're editing it. Or maybe we can automatically update the frameworks that are used when editing records. So here's some examples of the errors my code shows up. And as you can see, it's a Perl script, and it returns all the errors from the database. And the last point there is we recently migrated a consortium that had 2.4 million catalog records, 624,000 something had errors in them. So 25% of their records had errors. Very good data. They've been fixing it because it's very easy now that they have a list of all the errors. But now, how do you add the catalogers the nag so they know they're not doing bad data anymore? So Koha itself, it has no format checking really. We can create a plugin. I'll show you later the URL where you can check that out, but Koha itself doesn't have that hook yet, so we'll have to modify the Koha source. Okay. And you can see some cons there. Unfortunately, it's not very easy to integrate into Koha. Koha itself shows the editing errors when in JavaScript, if I remember correctly. And cataloging frameworks, there's lots of frameworks. Lots of mouse clicking when you need to add new fields or change their names or whatever. So I wrote an external script that updates the frameworks automatically when the National Library of Finland updates their translation. And these are the URLs if you're interested. And the code is bad, don't use it. We use it, but it works. Thank you.
So, here's a lightning quiz. We were saying all the good things that have come from Finland, and we've got one. We had, well, the original version of SSH. We had IRC. What did we forget? Come on. What? No. The other Yarko. CPAN. There. That was my lightning quiz, and you all failed.
Okay, so it's going to be a quick talk. I think half of the room can go away because you already are a speaker. For anyone else who not yet gave a speech to the PerlKohaCon, it's a couple of advices I can give because I am now a speaker. Used to be a spectator, right? So first advice, it may sound obvious, but you have to know what you're going to talk about. Also, you have to expect unwanted questions. So if there is something you want to avoid, just don't talk about it. Another good advice I can tell to future speakers, train on other things. Get involved in your local communities, library, hacker or makerspace. If you don't know what it is, we can talk about it later. I don't know, theater, comedy groups, clubs. If you do sing, trying to join a club, train yourself to be at ease, talking to other people, like a group of people, not just casual discussion. As an example, also doing my own advertisement here. So the picture you're seeing here is a project that I built with Arduinos and LEDs. you don't know what it is. He knows, because Arino is Italian. And so since a couple of years, I give workshops on how to teach people how to do electronic soldering and a bit of programming on Arduino. So it gave me, it helped me to raise my self-confidence to talk to other people, like in a way I teach them. Other advice, during your presentation, breathe. You have to breathe. First, it will help people to, also your audience, to breathe as well and keep listening to you. And obviously, it will help yourself to just keep living. Also, have a watch or a timer around. It really helps you to get the right timing. And obviously, I prepared but didn't activate it. Wrong example. Pay attention to your audience. Try to grab eye contacts. Check if, like, somehow people are following you. A quote from dear Master Yoda, bless him: "Do or do not, there is no try." Actually, this is completely wrong. Any conference you do is a trial for the next one. It's a training for the next one. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Life is a trial. And even if you do mistakes, like everyone does, it's okay. We're friendly people, right? And forgiving. Also, many thanks to Alex Buckley. He did a great presentation about tips for trainers. So I really advise you to watch it if you were not there. And last advice, which is also an invitation. We're doing a Hackfest in Marseille once every year at the end of March, usually. And it's a very good opportunity for you to get in touch with the Koha community, which you already did being here. But also if you want to train your, or test your speaking, teaching maybe, skills with smaller audience, more intimate, not like big room, cameras and everything. So it's a very good place to go, and I definitely invite you to come there. Thank you.
Well, there are a lot more Lightning advertisers, so get me again, just to add to that. And don't be stressed about doing it in a foreign language. I've done it. If I can do it, so can you.
Carry on. Hello, my name's Julien. I'm a Perl developer, and I usually talk about training people. Today, I'd like to do something that I have to do at work a lot, but it often takes a long time. I think a lot of you have written some code when you've been working with Koha, and what we often forget at these conferences is that there are people who are beginners. So I'd like to talk about CPAN and how to use it as a user. So when I train new people at work, so I hire developers, or I hire people and turn them into developers, it usually takes about half a year for them to realize there's actual documentation for the modules they use, because you work in a massive product, it has like hundreds of thousands of lines of code, there are all of these files, and I think the Koha code base is probably similar. You go into this tiny piece that you care about and you make changes, and there's all the code already there, and most of it is proprietary, so you just read your own code, and that's fine, but then you encounter a standard module or something else that has come from somewhere else, which is the CPAN, and you simply don't know where to find its documentation. So let me tell you, there's a place called metacpan.org, which is the web front end for all of CPAN. The comprehensive Perl archive network, which is, I'm not speaking. Oh, there's no slides. I'm sorry, I mirrored it, it didn't work. Right, so this place is called metacpan.org, which is the comprehensive Perl archive network, and now I can't see what I'm doing. That's annoying. This makes this much harder. So let's say you read your code and you encounter something that is not part of your code base, such as date time. I search for date time in here, and I find this date time module, and there is its documentation. It usually starts with a synopsis. There's a lot of table of contents in here, and then you can read everything, and it's quite useful, but sometimes stuff isn't documented. So you could, for example, look for its tests. So you would go to Browse in here on the left, make that a bit bigger. Ooh, and then we can click on the disk, find the T directory, and then there are all the tests, and those tell you how stuff works. For example, setting date values. There's lots of code. It's all just code. It's really just as easy to read as the other code that you're using for work. Now I'm going to go back. If that doesn't help, how about we want to know how it works? We can just go and read its source code. So there's all of the source code, and you'll find actually CPAN modules at just Perl. So they're the same kind of code as the code that you're writing yourself. You don't have to be scared of it. You can learn lots of stuff from this. And it's all just that, it's all open source, and open also means you can read it. So yeah, you just need to click that one link and you get all of the source, which is great. And you can follow them. While I was just looking for examples, I found this, which I think one of the previous speakers just mentioned. It's got a little, well, first of all, I noticed this name up here, the person who released it, is in fact not a person. It seems to be a place. The National Library of Finland. Who could this be? But what I noticed here is there is something slightly broken. So you can actually go and fix this, because contributing is really easy. And I'm not going to do all of showing you how to do that because I don't have enough time. But one of these links here takes you to the repository, usually the issues link. And then you end up here. And you can just go and change it on GitHub and send the pull request. One more thing I want to point out is I was talking to one of the Koha core developers earlier, yesterday I believe, and they dropped the name of someone working on DBIX class, I believe it was. And the result, the response I got was like, oh, really, you know that person? Yeah, there are actually quite a lot of us here who do a lot of CPAN stuff, and even one or two people who contribute to the PerlKoha, and we are just people. We're not like, oh, wow, these are really important people. We're not. We're just regular guys, and gladly some women, not many, sadly, but some. We're just regular people. You can just come and talk to us. We're very approachable. We're very nice. It's not like super special. We're just doing the stuff that we enjoy doing, and so could you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex Buckley from Catalyst. Thank you so much, Arthur, for the shout out earlier, really great tips. I just wanted to do a heads up and a call to action. In January, Catalyst is hosting the Open Source Academy, where we bring in a bunch of high school students that are interested in technology. We train them up on different technologies for 1 week, and then the second week they contribute to an open source project. The Koha team is going to be teaching students about contributing to Koha, and we would love to have, again, the fabulous support we've had in the past from the Koha community, and would also love to see some Perl community people get involved testing patches and contributing and giving feedback. So it'd be great to see you there. Thank you.
Okay, hello. I'm Choroba, I'm from Prague, and I wanted to present to you the pull request club. So, how does it work? You register at pullrequest.club. You get assigned a GitHub repository which usually corresponds to a CPAN module, but it works for other languages than Perl as well, so it might be something completely different. And you submit a pull request during a month, and next month you get another assignment, and so on. Why should one do it? So you are helping the community to get the code better, which is like a benefit for everyone. But there are some advantages for you as well, because you're helping yourself making friends in the community and helping yourself getting familiar with modules you didn't know before. The Pull Request Club is organized by Kivan. I hope I pronounce the name correctly. Here is his KYZN is his CPAN handle. Thank him. And now I just wanted to show you how it usually works for me. So here is my assignment from July this year. I got Calendar Simple as the assigned repository. So what I usually start with, I check the issues of the repository or in the bug tracker. And there were two open issues. One of them stated that resources metadata doesn't work, and the second one said CPAN Digger doesn't think we have a CI workflow. So I tried to concentrate on the first one, and I discovered that on CPAN, meta.json file missed the following lines, which most other distributions where this thing works have. And that was strange because the information was contained in the build.pl file, and when I tried to run it locally, the created meta file had this information. So I wrote to the maintainer of the module, which was Dave Cross, and I let him know that it works for me. He just tried to rerun, and it worked for him as well. So he created a new version, and everything worked. But there was no pull request, so it was not the end of the story for me, and I had to find something else. So I started reading the documentation of the module and discovered that there is a pcal command, which probably stands for Perl Calendar, and it should be similar to the cal command you probably know from Linux or Unix. And I cannot read it correctly, probably you can read it better than me. But it mentions that week starts on Monday by default, which sounded kind of strange to me. I'm from Europe, but I usually use the US locals on my machine. So I tried, and really, the week starts with Sunday and not Monday. So I read the documentation of Cal, ran some experiments, and yeah, in fact, the behavior depends on the setting of LC time. So I added an option for the command to specify whether you want your week to start on or Sunday or Monday. The library itself already supported it, it just was not supported by the command. So that was the pull request. Let's take another example. If there is not enough time, you'll have to finish it for yourself. So in August, which is this month, at the beginning of this month, I got app Perl imports, which is kind of a larger project than the Calendar Simple. And when trying to install it, I got an error in the tests, which is another thing that is usually good to look into. But it was kind of cryptic because, as you can see, it says that in test helper there is not a blessed reference somewhere. I found one of CPAN testers had a similar problem. So I started to dig into it, and I found out that the problem is with the doc arrow includes. So there probably were no includes at all. So I tried to find out how this document, which should have these includes, is created. I discovered that it has a builder. It uses Moo or Moose, I don't remember. And the build includes has this long sub inside. But for us, the important part is the the last 3 or 5 lines or something like that. I tried to like debug each line here, and the problem was with the sandbox. There is eval package, and what it does, it just creates this short string where it creates a package and then evals the created string. You can see that there is a $@ somewhere there, so I tried to view that. I got an error that was hidden from the test run, and this in fact led to the actual solution of the problem, because I found out that in the test itself, the minimal version of LWP user agent was 5.0, but the code itself of the test required 6.49, which I didn't have installed. I had an earlier version. So I lowered the expected version to fit into the test requirements, and that was my pull request for this month. Once I get access to SSH, these slides will be available at this URL. Thank you.
Meanwhile, we're switching small information from me and some gifts for some Kohas for some teams. Ukrainian team brought some mugs for me, but it's just a few. I can assign them for persons, so I decided to give them for teams. I want especially to thank for Bywater Solutions, for PTFS, and for BibLibr, because part of this conference content made because these companies assigned their developers to come to this conference, even forcibly, maybe they pushing money in their hands and you should go to this conference, here is the money, go, or maybe it was another way, but it's some kind of, it's not some kind of, it's really sponsorship by content for our conferences. So one of these marks goes to PTFS team, and one of those marks goes to Bywater and for BibLibr. So please, I will give this for your bosses and then you will decide. Occasionally, one more going to Argentina silently, but for Canada, I will bring myself more.
Right, and this is me being brave because it's got a live demo and it's lightning talk and I've already made a speaker move. All comments are equal, but some comments are more equal than others. It's me, it's about a bug, a trap in my SQL, let me say. So, what does this code do? We've got select call a selector array. We've put in 3 placeholders as undef, undef, undef. Oh, sorry, pass them in. We've got 3 in there, but it's commented. I shall tell you that fails because otherwise I might run out of time. What happens if I change the comment from dash dash to hash? What does that do? It's got 3 bind variables passed. It still seems to, but one of them is commented out. I definitely the mouse. Right. That one is 3 hash. Oh, weird. It works. What happens if, like, one of our diligent programmers, you see this crazy looking thing and you delete that line? Boom, like that. Let me put that at the top of the screen. We have deleted the line. That's all we have done. So there was 3 with a hash and there's now 3 clean. What happens if we run that? Boom! Boom twice because we've got raise error. So we deleted some commented out code in the SQL and it fails. The correct version, of course, is that, where you have 2 undefs passed here as bind variables. In the real world, you'd be obviously using something else, which I can promise you, if I'm being really silly, I'm going to take 3 clean and diff it to that because Jeff hasn't even dinged me yet. Told you I was nuts. I think it's that one. Yeah, we've removed 1 bind variable, that's all. Let me put that top. All we did was that. What do I call that? 2 clean. 2 bind variables cleaned up. It works again. The correct version is that. What was the next slide? Oh yes, it's a trap. This only applies to hash comments, it's not to dash dash comments, and it's not to C-style multi-line comments. And that is it.
And that brings us to the end of the lightning talks, but first I have an advertisement. As mentioned earlier, for those of you who think that April is too early to go to a Perl conference in Germany, and September is too late to wait for one in Canada, we do have one. It will be in June, the week of the 24th in Las Vegas. It is a Perl and Raku conference now, the thing formerly known as Perl 6. But if several of you were to come and submit talks, I can guarantee you we can have at least a half-day track dedicated to Koha. I'm on the committee that accepts talks. I'm sure we can work something out. And the other thing I'd like to say as we finish up and before he comes back to take care of the end, you have now seen the lightning talks. If this was your first experience with them, remember the first hit is free. We would encourage you to do a lightning talk because today's lightning talk speaker could be tomorrow's keynote speaker. Yes, as was mentioned earlier, it is in the big room, but it's only 5 minutes, so the pressure is low. It's a good place to start. Start putting your talk together now.